A quiet shift in Allen Park that feels less like rumor and more like a gear clicking into place. If I told you Detroit is preparing a small change that could snowball into a season-defining run, would you believe me? Not a trade, not drama, not sources say. Fluff, football, assignments, trust. One lightning-fast receiver at the center of it, and the way the first 20 snaps might look very different very soon. Before we go anywhere, here's the promise. I'll lay out the timeline from right after the Baltimore game. What coaches adjusted on paper this week? Why this tweak fits the identity of this offense? How it could tilt coverage? And what it means for the other stars you love? We'll talk matchups, rhythm, opening drive strategy, and why a small nudge to one player could open doors for everyone else. I'm not dropping the headline yet. I want you to feel why it matters first. Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report. Hit subscribe. Ring the bell. Drop a like so more Detroit diehards find this breakdown while it still matters. We cut past the noise, get to the football, and tell you what it changes on Sunday and in January. Let's work. Introduction. The offense is no longer just productive. It's consistent. Structure travels. You've seen it. Scripted openers that make sense. Protection rules that hold up. And an identity that doesn't panic when a drive stalls. And in the middle of that, we've got a speed threat who sometimes looks quiet on the stat sheet and yet bends the entire defense's posture even when the ball doesn't find him. That's not a contradiction. That's gravity. The last 2 weeks painted the picture. Numbers were spread, touches found different hands, and the scoreboard rewarded the big picture. The message in the locker room was simple. Do your job. Keep the gas steady. The ball finds the right guy based on the look. You heard the tone from the receiver we're talking about. No sulking. No throw me the ball theatrics. Team first. Stay ready. And when you talk to people who really know how this system breathes, staying ready isn't a cliche. It's an assignment. Here's the tension the coaches live in. You don't chase stats, but you do chase leverage. A defense that stops respecting a burner becomes brave, then greedy, then wrong. Detroit's staff knows it. That's why the openers are less about feeding egos and more about forcing rules. Make a corner honor width. Make a safety take 2 honest steps back. Make a coordinator think twice about bracketing St. Brown on 3rd and short. That's football economy. 1 snap buys you space 3 snaps later. There's also the chemistry part. The quarterback and this wideout have been smoothing out timing windows, stem speed, how hard to sell the vertical, when to flatten a dig, where the ball should live based on leverage. It shows up in tiny things, the way the receiver gears down late to keep the catch away from trailing hands, the way he throttles through traffic to avoid a kill shot. Sometimes you don't see it on TV. Defenses feel it. If you've watched Ben Johnson long enough, you know how he plants seeds. 1 week you see jet motion with no touch. The next week it's a dummy. Then suddenly it's a pop pass when the backers are yanking themselves inside zone. The opening 15 isn't a script. It's a story with callbacks. And this is where the conversation got real the last 48 hours. The coaches don't want merely to threaten space. They want to cash it in. So here's the news earlier than the league expects and exactly when Detroit needs it most. The plan on the table is to feature Jameson Williams early and decisively in the opening sequences. Design touches in the first 20 plays. More motion to manufacture free releases. And a couple of built-in shots that are go if grass. Not force it no matter what. Think stack looks to beat press. Quick glance RPO if the corner bails, a now screen to punish soft edges. And 1 high leverage deep strike when the safety finally flinches. This isn't about chasing targets. It's about imposing rules. What changes with that? Alignment and intent. Expect more snaps at Z and in the slot to hunt matchups instead of pecking him on the island against a boundary bully. Expect orbit and jet to make the nickel declare his leverage. Expect a few early touches that don't ask him to solve the whole puzzle. Get the ball. Turn, run just to raise his temperature, and force the defense to widen. When the picture widens, the run game breathes and play action starts to feel like theft. For the rest of the room, this is oxygen. Amon-Ra stays the chain mover and the heartbeat. But the bracket won't feel as comfortable if the field is stretched right away. The tight end gets cleaner grass on seams. The back sees six-man boxes a tick longer on early downs. Even the backside digs for Reynolds or whoever is rotating in get that half step of daylight you can't teach. You aren't taking food off anyone's plate. You're setting the table better matchup-wise. This tweak hits a defense in its blind spot. Press man teams that love to squat on the quick game have to either back off or take on water. Zone teams that pattern match get stressed by motion and speed-changing sight lines right before the snap. Either way, you're telling the coordinator, pick your poison. If he sits on the crosser, you throw the glance. If he drives the glance, you tag the wheel. If he widens with motion, you hand it and live to 2nd and 3. That's who Detroit is at its healthiest answers without panic. Risks. Always, drops can happen. Timing can be off by a beat. The worst thing will be to press the ball into trouble just because you promised yourself to get him involved. That's not the intent. The intent is to stage opportunities that flow from the look. And the receiver's own words recently, keep your mind clear, do the job, the ball will find you fit this perfectly. This isn't an apology tour. It's a football plan. Zooming out. This doesn't signal any kind of panic or overcorrection. It's the opposite, confidence. You don't design for a guy unless you believe he changes coverages. You don't put him in motion unless you trust his landmarks. You don't hand him quick touches unless you believe he'll punish angles. And you definitely don't build in a deep shot unless you like the way your quarterback and your protection are seeing the field together. Short term, this could swing the first quarter against a defense that's been starting fast. Long term, it recalibrates the way opponents scout. Detroit, you can't simply say, we'll live with Jameson quiet and get away with it if the openers make you wrong twice before the band sits down from the anthem. And if the feature window forces one extra timeout, one blown check, one soft box in the red zone, you feel it in January. Now it's your turn. How would you script Jameson's first 3 touches? Do you want the quick hitters to get him hot or the early moonshot to punch a hole in the roof? Would you keep him mostly at Z and move him around, or give him a few true slot reps to torture a nickel? Drop your plan in the comments. This community knows ball. And I want to read your openers. My personal opinion. I'm all for featuring Jameson early as long as reads drive the ball. Not promises. It fits who the Lions are becoming, and it can pay off in the margins that decide playoff games. And to be clear, what you've heard today is a grounded speculation built from signals and football logic, not an official team announcement.